For a moment, it sounded like one of those transfer stories that just made too much sense. Manchester United needed a midfielder. Casemiro looked set to leave. And Bruno Guimaraes, one of the Premier League's best all-action midfielders, was suddenly being linked with a move to Old Trafford. Then the rumours got louder. Some reports claimed United were pushing hard. Others suggested Casemiro himself had told the club to bring Bruno in as his replacement. And then came the biggest claim of all, that Bruno Guimaraes had already agreed personal terms with Manchester United. To many fans, it sounded like the start of a blockbuster summer deal. But then, just as the story began gathering real momentum, a very different version emerged. And according to journalist Mitten, this may not be a Manchester United transfer story at all. This might be a contract story. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. If you enjoy football transfer news, Manchester United updates, and smart breakdowns told properly, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. And as we go through this one, tell me in the comments, would you actually take Bruno Guimaraes at United, or should the club move for younger midfielders instead? It all started with a familiar feeling around Manchester United. The season was moving toward its final stretch, and attention had already begun shifting to the summer window. Everyone knew one thing: United were going to need reinforcements in midfield. Casemiro, once the big-name solution, now looked increasingly likely to leave at the end of the season. His time at Old Trafford appeared to be winding down, and with that came the obvious question: who replaces him? That question opened the door for speculation. And in transfer season, speculation spreads fast. Soon, one name started standing out above the rest: Bruno Guimaraes. It wasn't hard to understand why. Bruno is exactly the kind of midfielder fans notice instantly. Aggressive, technically strong, full of personality, capable of controlling the pace of a match, and already proven in the Premier League. He's the sort of player who doesn't just play in midfield, he takes ownership of it. So when reports started linking him to Manchester United, people paid attention. A report from Spanish outlet AS claimed that Casemiro had recommended Bruno to the club as the man to replace him. That alone gave the story weight. After all, who better to identify a successor than the player leaving the role himself? Then things escalated. Claims started circulating that Bruno had already agreed personal terms with Manchester United. Suddenly, this wasn't being talked about like casual interest anymore. It was being presented like something serious, something advanced. And for a fan base desperate to see the midfield rebuilt properly, it sounded exciting. But behind the noise, another version of the story was quietly developing. According to Team Talk, Newcastle were not in talks with Manchester United over Bruno Guimaraes at all. In fact, rather than preparing to lose him, Newcastle were reportedly trying to do the exact opposite. They were in discussions with Bruno over a new contract. Not just any contract, either. Reports suggested Newcastle were prepared to offer him a deal worth more than £200,000 per week, a huge show of faith and a clear sign that they still see him as central to their plans. And that's when the story took its twist. Because Andy Mitten, a respected journalist with strong Manchester United connections, stepped in and gave his view. And his view was simple: he hadn't heard anything real. Mitten said he had not heard from his sources that Manchester United were actively moving for Bruno Guimaraes. He even said he had been in Newcastle recently and had heard nothing there to suggest a move was happening either. Then came the most revealing part of all. Mitten said he suspects, though he cannot prove it, that these links to Manchester United may be coming more from Bruno's side as part of efforts to negotiate a better contract with Newcastle. And just like that, the whole story changed. Because now, instead of asking, are United signing Bruno? People started asking, is United's name being used? It's the kind of thing that happens all the time in football, especially when contracts are being discussed. A player is in talks with his club. Reports suddenly appear linking him with a giant like Manchester United. Headlines explode. Fans react. Pressure builds. And suddenly, the club is reminded that if they don't pay up, someone else might. Whether that's exactly what's happening here, nobody can say for sure. But Mitten's comments definitely cool the excitement. At the very least, they suggest that the current wave of Bruno to United reports may be far less concrete than they first appeared. And maybe that tells us something important about Manchester United's summer plans. Because while Mitten played down the Guimaraes links, he did say other names seem more realistic. Two names, in particular, stand out. The first is Adam Wharton of Crystal Palace. Mitten said Wharton had been mentioned to him as a realistic option, though he also made clear the source wasn't inside Manchester United. Still, it's a link that makes sense. Wharton is young, calm under pressure, technically sharp, and already looks like a midfielder with a very high ceiling. He's the type of player you don't just buy for now, you buy for the next 5 or 6 years. The second name is Elliot Anderson of Nottingham Forest. He may not have the same star status as Bruno Guimaraes, but in some ways, his profile fits what modern recruitment under INEOS could be all about: younger players, room to grow, strong physical levels, and deals that make sense not just on the pitch but financially too. And maybe that's where this story really lands. Because under INEOS, Manchester United are expected to be smarter in the market. Less emotional, less reactive, less focused on the biggest name in the headline, and more focused on the right fit for the project. So yes, Bruno Guimaraes is a top player. Yes, he would improve many teams. And yes, under different circumstances, a move like that might feel believable. But right now, this story feels less like a transfer that's close, and more like a negotiation tool that's doing its job.so. After all the noise, where are we? Manchester United still need midfielders. Casemiro still looks set to leave. And the rebuild in that area still has to happen. But as things stand, Bruno Guimaraes to Manchester United looks more like a rumour wrapped in timing than a deal with real momentum. Newcastle want to keep him. A new contract is reportedly on the table. And Andy Mitten believes the United links may be part of that bigger picture. Meanwhile, names like Adam Wharton and Elliot Anderson may tell us more about the direction United are actually heading in. But now it's your turn. Do you think Bruno Guimaraes is genuinely a Manchester United target? Or is this all part of a contract game with Newcastle? And if United are rebuilding the midfield, who would you go for? Bruno, Wharton, Anderson, or someone else? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story-style breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. More transfer stories, United updates, and football deep dives are coming very soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.